Canon plans more power zoom lenses over the next 6 months, right after the announcement of the 70-200mm f2.8 L series image stabilized USM-Z. But are these lenses exciting enough to get you to pull the trigger on buying one of them? But before we get to the details, please subscribe to this channel. It doesn't cost you anything, helps this channel grow, and keeps you up to date on the latest camera coverage. Canon plans more power zoom lenses over the next 6 months, right after the announcement of the 70-200mm f2.8. According to Canon rumors, the source wasn't 100% sure about the focal length, but suggested that it would be an RF 12-24mm f2.8 L series image stabilized USM-Z, meaning power zoom. Well, one thing's for sure, Canon's really leaning into these fast apertures of f2.8 on these new power zoom lenses. It's almost as though it's becoming the new, well, avocado on toast of lenses. The first power zoom lens was the 24-105, and it's an f2.8. It was announced back in November of 2023. And the Canon RF 70-200mm, also a power zoom lens, and also it's going to be an f2.8. It really does appear that Canon is standardizing on f2.8 for these power zoom lenses. And when we see the price, it really shouldn't be a surprise. So when will this 24 or 12-24 or whatever the focal length is going to be? Because remember, the source wasn't 100% sure. When is that lens going to be available? Will it be available at the time of the announcement of the Canon EOS R1? Canon says that this new third power zoom lens will be available in the first quarter of 2025. And we've been told that it will be a different wide-angled focal range than anything in the current lineup. Now, the real caveat here is not that it's a CR1, 2, or 3, because Canon rumors doesn't do that anymore. It's more that we're not 100% sure about the 12-24. Now, some would say, well, there's a 10-20, so probably not that range, but keep in mind, we already have a 70-200mm f2.8, and some would say, why do we need a power zoom version of that? And the 24-105, well, we have 2 of those. A variable aperture where the aperture gets worse as you zoom in, and then of course the f4, which is the one I own. We'll just have to wait and see, because again, the source wasn't sure, which is really, I always find it strange when a source says, we're not sure what it's going to be, but trust us, we're going to have this new lens. Everything else was rather specific. But what I really like about these power zoom lenses, well, there's several things. One, they're quiet. They have a really fast aperture of f2.8, and they pretty much eliminate focus breathing. But there's one other thing they do that's very impressive, at least for videographers, and that's having quasi-parfocal zooming. Parfocal zooming, what that is the ability to change, well, zoom in or zoom out without breaking focus. But I want to focus on these power zoom lenses. The 24-105 f2.8 L image stabilized USM-Z was the very first one. And it was very interesting. It gave a lot of people a lens that they were looking for, well, going back to the EF days back in the 80s. To have a 24-105 f2.8, that's a big deal. And to have all those video features, silent zooming is huge. The 24-70 doesn't do that. The 28-70 definitely doesn't do that. The 50mm f1.2 doesn't do it. So to have quiet zooming is a big deal. To eliminate, well, breathing, focus breathing, and to have quasi-parfocal zooming, those are pretty impressive capabilities. But you might be wondering why I don't own any of them. Well, we only have one announced right now, so let's pick on the 24-105. Why haven't I purchased that lens? Well, I already have the 24-105 f4. It's right here. And you know what? It's a pretty good lens. I know it's an external zoom, but the advantage of having an external zoom, and I've got the lock on it, wherever it is here, I can't see because I don't have my glasses on. The problem with an external zoom is you can get dust, debris, moisture inside. But on the positive side, it's compact, it's great for travel. It allows me to get into baseball games without them saying that lens is too long. So if I wanted to go down to the Sky Dome and shoot the Blue Jays, well, shoot my son watching the Blue Jays, they'd let me in with this lens as long as I took the lens hood off. Now, with the 24-105 f2.8, that's certainly not going to work. But in terms of quiet, it is quiet. The shotgun mic, whatever I'm using as a mic, never picks up stabilization or focus motors. None of that stuff. It's really, really good. Now, as far as the quasi-parfocal abilities, I quite often don't pull zooms when I'm shooting. I usually will pick a focal length and stick to it, like I'm shooting with a prime. I don't know why I do it. I'm just, for the way I shoot, it's just not part of my idiom. I don't need that capability. This lens is weather sealed. I was recently at Niagara Falls, as you're seeing right here, using this lens, and it got soaked. The R5 got soaked, and yet here it is, and it's still working. It's a really good workhorse of a lens. The optics are pretty good, and you know, it costs what, $12, $13.99 right now US. I was lucky. I picked this up for around $1,100 after taxes Canadian 4 years ago. So a really good deal compared to what you can get it for today. And I also picked up this lens hood designed for a 24-105. So unless I'm shooting DCI, the lens hood is never picked up, which is really, really nice. So what is the other reason that I don't have the 24-105 power zoom? Well, cost. $29.99. That's US. That's a very high price compared to what, $12.99? And because this gives me most of what I need, why would I pay more than twice the price for some of the capabilities? If I didn't have the 24-105, that lens would really capture my attention. And every now and then when I've got nothing to purchase, I keep looking to that lens to purchase it. But when I travel, that lens is a whole lot bigger. It's harder to take into my gear. Now my camera bag, do I have it here? No, it's upstairs. But what I often do is I put this one on the camera and I take it on the plane, and I've never had a problem with WestJet or Air Canada letting me have, or having this camera around my neck, or I'll sometimes put it under the seat. Never a problem with this on the camera. So there's my one lens. Now the 100 to 500 millimeter right here, this thing here fits in my camera bag. It's a very small camera bag, and this lens easily fits in, no problems. And the other lens I usually bring with me in case I'm shooting in a low light situation is the RF 50 millimeter f1.2. Now with that lens here, what I can end up doing is, well, a couple of things. I can give it to my wife to hold on to, and it becomes one of her things to carry on. She can put it in her purse. Or I can manage to swing it, or I can put it in my pocket, or I can put it inside the camera bag. I can make everything work, and I always make sure I buy a seat where I can board early on so I can put my stuff up there without it getting damaged. So I really do like these power zoom lenses. There aren't enough on the market to really capture my attention yet. The 70 to 200 millimeter, perhaps, but I also have the 100 millimeter macro f2.8. And this is a very affordable lens. This will often go on sale for $999. And I don't have the 70 to 200, but I will often use that thing. And while it doesn't do 70, it doesn't do 200, or even what, the 24 to 70, I do find that lens indoors is a good compromise. Again, it's a prime, not a zoom. So I'm waiting to see what Canon does. Hopefully these power zoom lenses aren't all going to be around $3,000 US. I really do love the video capabilities of these new cameras as they come out. What Canon's done with the R5 Mark II is really improve upon the capabilities, and on the video side, Canon Log 2, full-size HDMI slot, much better autofocus system, and I can go on. And the lenses, these power zoom lenses are really exciting. I canceled an order I had for the 24 to 70 once I realized, oh yes, it has a terribly loud motor. So no, I don't want that, because this is one of my primary run and gun lenses for shooting outside. It has to be quiet, it has to be silent. Anything that replaces this has to do that. The 50 millimeter f1.2, I put in a word to pick up a used EF 50 millimeter f1.2 because it's quiet. The mics on top don't pick up any sound, unlike the RF version. So even though the RF version has a better quality, that will be my standard run and gun lens for shooting in low light situations, not one of the newer lenses. Odd, right? So I'm not completely sold on the 50 millimeter f1.4. When it comes to shooting Halloween, or when it's dark, we're talking night, we're talking winter night, having that extra f1.2 does make a difference. The autofocus functions better, the lighting is a little bit better. That's where that really comes in when you're shooting video. For stills, it's definitely different. You don't need to be shooting at 1.2 all the time. But when it's night, And you need to really bring in some light. You need to open up the aperture, going as wide as you possibly can, and f1.2 really matters. But I want to turn our attention to deals of the week because there are some surprising deals. Ever since the announcement of the R5 Mark II on July the 17th, things have gone backwards a little bit. The price of the R5 Mark I, as you can see, hasn't dropped in price. Yes, it's on sale for $400 off, but just before the announcement of the R5 Mark II, it was $500 off. It was $500 off just a few weeks ago. The R5C is still $700 off and has been at that price for the past 3 to 4 months. And the Nikon Z8, the closest competitor to the R5 Mark II, is just $200 off. Just a few weeks ago, it was $500 off. And if you're interested in picking up on those deals, and there's a lot of deals on, all the deals on other Canon and Nikon cameras that have been on for the past few weeks are still on. Canon hasn't, and Nikon hasn't reduced the sale price of those lenses, just the ones that are in direct competition to the R5 Mark II. And for those of you that have purchased using my affiliate links down below, as well as my pre-order links for the Canon EOS R5, these guys right here, a big thanks to you. Believe it or not, the revenue I get from YouTube is very minor compared to what I get from you guys purchasing using my links. And the best part of this is that it doesn't cost you anything. You don't have to fill in any codes or anything. Once you purchase, you get the same price as anybody else. I get a small feedback from Adorama or B&H or Amazon, and it really does help this channel grow. So thank you. You're the reason for keeping this channel on the air. It's much appreciated. And thank you for tuning in. I've got other videos planned. I was hoping to slow down a little bit here, to relax a little bit, but news keeps coming out. Then, of course, next week, the R5 Mark II starts shipping. I should have mine on Tuesday, and then, well, that's when I start testing. I get to see what Canon Log 2 is all about. I get to see what it's like to live with that camera. Just like the R5 Mark I, I don't just talk about these cameras. I've had the R5 Mark I since a week before it started shipping, and I've gone through the overheating. I've gone through all the firmware updates. I know what it's like to live with this camera day in and day out, shooting over 1,500 videos on this channel, as well as shooting full length films and movies. So, a very impressive camera. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have yourself a great day, and we'll see you again soon.